Now, Stats SA figures show that there's a decline in domestic worker jobs in the country. There were tens of thousands of domestic workers without jobs in the third quarter of the year. The Domestic Service and Allied Workers Union Association says it's been inundated with calls from housekeepers who've been retrenched. The union's Pinky Mashiane is joining us now via Zoom. Ms. Mashiane, good afternoon. Welcome to today. It's tough times for domestic workers. I guess the biggest challenges are the financial pressures that many middle-class households will be feeling as our economy is not growing.
Good afternoon to ENCA viewers. Thank you. I'm from the United Domestic Workers of South Africa, UDOSA. It is unfortunate, the truth that domestic workers are losing their jobs. It's happening every month. It started in 2020 during COVID. It got better, then it started again. And this time is during the time of festive season. Many domestic workers will be sent home and told that you must not come back in January, you must wait for our call, and they will not be called back. We know that happens every year. And there are employers who are letting their old domestic workers to go home and hire other domestic workers at the beginning of the year. Yes, we understand that there's financial difficulties in many people, but there are employers who still can manage and can afford to keep their domestic workers at work.
Yeah, how are you assisting the domestic workers who are being laid off? Because according to the stats, well over 30,000 domestic workers were without employment in the third quarter.
It's very unfortunate. I always say that there are very few domestic workers who are in unions. Some domestic workers, they will go and stay at home while they were told that they will be called back. 6 months goes by, they haven't reported that case at the CCMA. When they go to take the case at the CCMA, the case is dismissed before the CCMA can hear it, because they are saying, why didn't you bring the case in time at the CCMA? Because there's a time frame for bringing cases there. So as UDOSA, if our domestic workers and our members are dismissed from work, we are telling them, if the employer says we will call you back in January, in the first week of January, call the employer back, call the employer. If they are not responding, go to the employer in person. If they are not opening the gates for you, then we are taking the case to CCMA. That's unfair dismissal. We know that is happening. We are also advising other domestic workers who are not in unions to do the same. And all domestic workers, if they are dismissed, they must take their cases to CCMA, irrespective of their country of birth, whether they are South African or non-South African. South Africans, we are advising them to take these matters to CCMA. Those who can be able to negotiate with their employers. If their employers want to lay them off, they must try to negotiate with their employers about what are you going to give me for the 17 years that I've worked for you. So because now you are sending me at home, what am I going to get? My severance pay? What about my UIF, my leave pay?
Okay, so those will have to form the package. What do you call it? The severance package?
Yes, the severance package.
Yeah. What about the view, Ms. Mashiane, that says, I mean, the world is changing, the economy is tough, and many households, especially middle-class households that have been employing a lot of domestic workers, are really facing tough times with increased inflation, which affects everybody, including the domestic workers. What about the view that says maybe it's time as well for domestic workers, those who are able to upskill themselves in other areas, in case they face this eventuality? What are your thoughts?
It is true. Some domestic workers will have their days reduced by employers. Maybe I was working for 5 days. The employer will say, now you start to work for 3 days from January. So we always ask for other organizations for skills development programs for domestic workers so that they can have life beyond domestic work. And when they are dismissed, they can start to do something, maybe anything that can make money for them, or to look for other employment. But it is very important for domestic workers to have other skills that can help them when they lose their jobs to make a living for themselves and their families.
Yeah, but at this time then, what are you advising? We are at that point, as you said earlier, Ms. Mashiane, we are approaching the end of the year. What would the best advice you can give to domestic workers currently before the festive season or as they prepare for the end of year?
My advice to domestic workers, I want to speak specifically to the domestic workers who are asked to look after their employers' houses while their employers are on holiday. Are they safe enough to look after the houses of their employers? Because those houses are insured and domestic workers' lives are not insured. Even the furnishers are insured. And I'll also advise the domestic workers to have a good relationship with their employers. Maybe they can get themselves some bonus during this time of the year, because not all employers cannot afford domestic workers. There are those who can give them bonus so that they can make a difference during this Christmas time.
Thank you very much for your time and explanations this afternoon. That's Pinky Mashiane from the Domestic Workers Union of South Africa.